Archaeology is the search for fact, not truth. So forget any ideas you got about lost cities, exotic travel, and digging up the world. We do not follow maps to buried treasure, and X never, ever marks the spot.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Shocking.
Nothing shocks me. I'm a scientist.
You are listening to Think Theory Radio.
Radio.
Hello and welcome to Think Theory Radio, the show that brings you topics outside the mainstream realm of thought and ideas to make you think. And I'm your host, Damian Perdue, your archaeological guide on this ancient ride of audio delights. And of course, I'm joined by Paulie C.
Yo.
And today, the C stands for caves. Ooh, so we'll be going down deep into some archaeological digs. Because it's another episode of Awesome Archaeology. Yes, it's been a while.
Number 22.
22. We're getting up there. Mm-hmm. Not as much as Weird Science, but it's getting close.
Gosh, this bit has become a fossil in its own right.
And it's actually been a couple months since we did one of these. I had to let the archaeologists find things, that were interesting enough to me to
build
do
up
it.
stories.
Yeah, I sent out some
dig up a few
emails.
stories.
Yeah, exactly. Had to put them out there in the world. Say, hey, come on, guys, give me something good. And they did.
Found some gems.
Yes. Let's get controversial. Let's get artistic.
Wow, right off the bat.
Yes. I'm sure you've heard of the Shroud of Turin.
Yep.
It's if for those that don't know, it's supposedly the linen cloth that people think is Jesus' face that was on him when he was buried. Well, this new controversial study, research is saying that it is not Jesus.
How do they know?
Well, a recent study by Brazilian 3D designer and researcher Cicero Moraes has introduced a new piece of evidence into this long-standing debate. Using modern 3D modeling and comparative analysis, Moraes set out to determine how the image of the shroud could have been formed. So what he did was he created two digital models, a three-dimensional model of a human body and a model of a low-relief sculpture. He then simulated how a sheet of linen would look when draped over each, analyzing the imprint the two-dimensional form would produce. The results were revealing.
Oh, yeah?
Moraes found that the imprint from the 3D human model was wider and more stretched out than the spectral image on the Holy Shroud. The shroud's image, however, was consistent with a technique of placing a sheet over a low-relief sculpture and rubbing it with pigment. This analysis, which is supported by other researchers who noted that the shroud lacks the structural deformations expected from a cloth wrapped around a three-dimensional body, shifts the conversation about the shroud. It reframes the artifact from a divine relic to a remarkable work of art. Still pretty cool. A masterpiece of human ingenuity and craftsmanship, but I would say a little scam artistness.
So you think someone made a fake, like someone went out of their way to make it? It wasn't just some sort of weird sort of like sitting around one day and like, hey, it looks like a face. I don't know.
Well, he's saying through this, technique that he's done that it is very, matches very much if you put a shroud over a sculptured face, but like a low relief one, not one with a lot of detail, right?
Yeah.
But now this is, you can't definitively prove whether or not that means that it was a sculpture and not a human body or Jesus or whatever. It's just that it most closely resembles something being placed over a sculptured face, which when you think about how many like biblical forgeries there are and,
Well, especially because I'm finding out that there's not much history before the 14th century when it comes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's been, even before this study, there's been a lot of speculation on who created it, where did it come from?
Yeah.
There's not much, like you said, there's not much background. It wasn't like, this was found in, Israel, at year 0, or year 30, whenever he was 30 years old, or whenever he was actually alive or whatever. But so I thought it was interesting. And what I thought was pretty cool is that no one has really haven't heard the church really going no, this guy's, he's putting shame on the holy, the holy word, the Shroud of Turin. It's real. They're just kind of whatever, think what you want to think. So,
Yeah.
It never looked very real to me, honestly.
I never really knew the story other than they thought it was that, but I always thought it was it was passed down from pope to pope or whatever. And it's the Byzantine Empire, apparently the emperors had it, and that's about as far back as they can trace it, which makes me wonder if some emperor just got tricked, oh, look what I have.
Yeah, it could be
riches
that too, for
you
sure.
could spare me, emperor, for I will give you this.
Mm-hmm. Or some kind of power grab too, I am beholden of the Shroud of Turin. Jesus picked me to rule the land.
Well, and that's what I was saying. It was like the sack of whatever, the town or whatever. They ransacked the town and look what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, make sure you grab that towel before you leave.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, moving on into the caves. So I brought up some caves.
Okay.
I think I have several cave stories, but at least I have one that ties into the art. We're sticking with the art theme here for the first segment. All right.
Okay.
And this is in the Etxeberri. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Etxeberri cave in the French Pyrenees.
Okay.
The site is described as one of the most challenging caverns ever explored by Paleolithic humans, with prehistoric paintings dating back approximately 16,000 years. The journey into the cave's deepest sections require a treacherous descent into a 6-meter drop known as the Sinkhole of the Angel. See? Keeping with the theme, the religious theme, What makes this discovery so compelling is not just the artwork itself, but the context in which it was found. The paintings in the more accessible parts of the cave are large and refined, featuring animals like horses and bison. In contrast, the artworks in the deepest, most dangerous sections are less refined. Researchers also found flint tools used to clear obstacles in the narrow passages. This distinction in the artist's quality and extreme risk involved in reaching these areas has led researchers to hypothesize that the cave was a shaman training ground. Dun, 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 dun. The more refined art in the public areas was likely for collective rituals, possibly created by an accomplished shaman. The less refined art in the perilous depths may have been the work of students undergoing a dangerous rite of passage, a kind of final exam for their shamanic training.
Sorry.
In this view, the artwork is not merely a depiction of the world, but a record of complex social structure and the spiritual rituals of a prehistoric community, providing a unique look into a functional rite of passage. So basically saying that in order to get down into this cave, to become the next shaman, the chosen one, you had to go deep down into this cave where you could have died, right? So that's pretty cool, though.
You got to prove your worth,
Mm-hmm. I thought that's pretty interesting to think of, what humans would do. And this was, 16,000 years ago. It's insane.
Yeah.
That there was that kind of mental thought of, if you go down, because I'm sure they believe that, like most ancient cultures, caves were kind of viewed as a, entrance to the underworld, right? Like some kind of spirit world, or, where the legends of hell come from, or even, not necessarily they believed always evil, but definitely that there was some kind of connection to the dead and, other kind of spirits. So to make someone you got to go all the way down there, man.
Yeah.
You better paint on the wall. So it's as a graffiti artist, it kind of reminds me of graffiti art. Like when you're doing stuff in the streets, it's always the more dangerous way you do it, or the more craziest spot you can do. It's the more props you get, Like nowadays, the rappelling is the new thing. So guys use like the cave rappelling equipment, and they rappel down the sides of buildings, and they get just into these areas where it's insane. So it's it's a similar thing, you know?
Yeah.
All right, let's stick. We're sticking with the art, like I said. And this one, we're talking about graffiti, talking about art on the walls. What about a 3,000-year-old multicolored three-dimensional mural? This was recently unearthed in Peru at the archaeological site of Huaca Yolanda. The mural is adorned with blue, yellow, red, and black paints and features depictions of fish, stars, and mythological beings. The images of fish and fishing nets stand in stark contrast to the murals found at the contemporary Chavin de Huantar site, which is in the jungle lowlands and depicts jaguars and reptiles. This thematic distinction illustrates that even in close geographic proximity, ancient cultures developed distinct artistic traditions that directly reflected their environment and way of life. It provides a rare glimpse into a sophisticated and formative past, challenging the notion of a monolithic formative period, culture, and highlighting the nuanced, localized nature of ancient societies. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I just think of it like, you know, again, as an artist, as a muralist, which I don't think anything I've done will last 3,000 years. Some of it's barely lasted a couple years. So to have some artist did this, amazing, sculpted mural, because it's three-dimensional. If you look up pictures of it, you can see, it's carved in. It's kind of like petroglyphic. And it's, and the fact that the pigment is still there. I mean, it's not very, bright.
Hey, man, let's just go to the middle of the desert, do what you got to do, shave down a stone.
Right.
I'll get you some art that'll last 3,000 years.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll work it. It'll be a Think Theory road
project,
trip.
Yeah. Think Theory road trip. Defacing the desert.
Yes. Live from wherever that I can't think of a desert. Desert. So Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
All right. Lastly, keeping with this thing, and this was a 4,000-year-old clay sculpture found in an ancient Egyptian tomb. And this, what's makes this very interesting, is that it has a perfectly preserved handprint on its underside. This is the first ever ancient Egyptian artifact found with a handprint on it, which is pretty amazing. And this was an artifact used in burial ceremonies. The handprint was likely made when the artisan lifted the wet clay to place it in the kiln. And this monumental grandeur of pharaohs and great empires, and this, we're usually used to big, crazy painted tombs and hieroglyphs. But this is a small little, kind of like a vase. I love the name though, Soul House. Right?
Is that Simpsons character that's really good at playing the saxophone?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought it was like a jazz club that I went to.
Soul House,
yeah, the Soul House.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm thinking of the Soul Train.
There's the Hot House on Balbo.
Yeah, I did actually perform at the Hot House several
that's
times.
cool, yeah.
And they used to be in Wicker Park originally.
That was the first venue I went to, was the Hot House on Balbo. When I was like 17, I got to see a show there.
Yeah. So the Hot House originally was on Milwaukee and Damon back in the day. And that was like the first place I ever grabbed an open mic rap night.
No kidding.
Yeah.
The one in Wicker Park.
Yeah, the one in Wicker Park. And then I did perform there, but also the one on Balbo later on, many years later.
It's now, I think, Buddy Guys. I mean,
it's Buddy Guys is below it. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was upstairs. Remember, the Hot House was like a second floor.
Yeah, well, Buddy Guys moved since then. Is that?
It's the same building, I believe. The one on Balbo and.
I thought it was on
there.
Wabash before.
Oh, you're saying when Hot House was going on, he was on Wabash.
Yeah, and now he's in that building, I guess.
Well, it is Wabash. Wabash and Balbo.
Wabash and Balbo?
Yeah.
I always thought they moved. I don't know.
You might be right.
Hot
You know
House
what?
isn't
I
there
think they
anymore.
were down the block.
Yeah.
I think they were still on Wabash, but a block south, and then they moved into that one.
Yeah.
But the Hot House was upstairs,
And
Buddy
Guys is downstairs. Yeah.
There we go. We cleared it up.
Okay.
And the ancient artifacts in Buddy Guy's legends.
Oh my gosh.
Which there are actually, as all those old guitars and
Two
stuff like that.
middle-aged guys arguing about Chicago. No, it's down there. It was
San Guabish and Balboa over there. I've seen them. All right. That will be it. That is it for this segment and the artistic archaeological finds that we have dug up. And we'll be back after this with some more awesome archaeology on Think Theory Radio.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Think Theory Radio. This is Damien, and today we are doing another episode of Awesome Archaeology. And before we get into some of the some new insights into human societies and urbanism and history-changing discoveries, let's go to the phones. We got Jim. What's going on, Jim?
Hi, guys. I was just thinking of the human sacrifice, the Homo sapien, when he uses human sacrifice to change his luck. I wonder what goes through the brain of a Homo sapien. Is it, who's the authority? Who's to be sacrificed?
Yeah.
Because apparently they found bones of every age, from infants to what they lived to be 30.
Yeah,
It's interesting. The human sacrifice is, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a wild concept.
It is. Just to change your luck. Yeah, I know that you guys are going to get to. How about the emperor in China that they had got all of his armies buried underground? Did you ever see that one?
Oh yeah, the
that's
soldiers.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then I think he killed the ones. It was like the first mummies. Remember the mummy with Boris Karloff? He kills all the people that buried the guy.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing in China. I think they killed all the poor buggers that worked on those things. But
right, to
was
protect him when he died or something.
Yeah, something like that, along those lines. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend.
All right, you too, Jim. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, I think I can't speak for every ancient culture, but a lot of them, the sacrifice, they believed so much in, whatever God or spirituality or, something to change the tide or, a lot of it was based on, but an earthquake happened. Oh, God's angry, right? So a lot of times, they volunteered for it. Or, we've talked about on the show before, like in the Mayan culture, they had the basketball game that they would play.
I'm the chosen one.
Yeah, the winner would be sacrificed. So I think that, like I said, I can't say that everyone was like that. I'm sure. Yeah, it depends on the culture. I'm sure, it depends on the individual too. I'm sure there were some where it's like, all right, you're the one. And they're like, nah, I'm not. No, but they had to,
I think the modern day version of that was like the kid that went to the remote island where they didn't want to be bothered by anyone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to spread Jesus to them. Like he had to have known going into it that
got hit with an arrow.
If I get sacrificed, then it's what God's will is.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of in a way, there's an interesting, or even you could think like not to get too morbid, but like the monks that burn themselves in protest and stuff like that, I mean, it's a little different, but I mean, I guess it's similar in the mind if you're volunteering to do it. Mm-hmm. That's different than if somebody's, forced to do it. Right?
The Hale-Bopp comet, what was it in the late 90s? The Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate, exactly. Like they all, we assume they all volunteered to do it and seemed like they were forced to.
I think a little bit more
cyanide.
so than the Jonestown massacre. That was a little bit forced.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the one where they got secretly dosed, right?
That was the one where it was like something got compromised, and right off the bat, the dude was just like, "All right, everyone drink the Kool-Aid or whatever." It wasn't Kool-Aid; it was whatever the other brand was. But yeah. But yeah, I think the Heaven's Gate one was like they knew, like, all right, this is the day we're meeting up. We're gonna ride that comet.
Yeah. Well, this doesn't really have to do with sacrifice, but maybe because there is a weird, ancient body found, a missing link, if you will. Okay. But before that, we travel down to Colombia. And this was scientists there fully sequenced the DNA of ancient remains dating back 6,000 years and belonging to a group of people known as the Chekwa. Now, here's the crazy thing about it. The DNA that they found doesn't match any known human lineage. This analysis revealed a previously unknown lineage that has no known modern descendants. And this mysterious part of the finding is that the Chekwa's genetic signature completely vanished from the region about 2,000 years ago, replaced by a new population with genetic ties to Central America. This discovery challenges the idea that human migration was a single continuous stream and suggests a more complex pattern of dispersal involving isolated communities that thrived for millennia before being completely replaced by a subsequent migratory wave. The Chekwa's disappearance raises new questions about what happened to them, whether due to climate conditions, disease, or competition, or sacrifice. And reveals a more dynamic and intricate story of human dispersal. The narrative of complex interaction rather than simple replacement is also supported by discovery of the world's oldest evidence of human Neanderthal interbreeding. And we brought this up on the show before. Now we know Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, they're getting busy together. And this was actually found at the Skull Cave, although it's SK, maybe it's school because it's SKHUL cave in Israel. A fossil of a 5-year-old child dated to about 140,000 years ago displays a combination of traits from both Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. Using advanced micro-CT technology, researchers created a detailed 3-dimensional model of the skull and the jaw. The analysis revealed that while the skull's curvature was similar to that of modern Homo sapiens, the jaw and inner ear structures were typical of a Neanderthal. And this finding pushes back the timeline of interbreeding by tens of thousands of years, fundamentally challenging the widely accepted out-of-Africa replacement model, which posited that modern humans simply outcompeted and replaced other hominins. Instead, this suggests a much longer period of coexistence and social interaction where interbreeding was a significant and early part of our shared history. So they might have just been interbreeded away. And who knows who else the hominins were, getting busy with. Homo sapiens, a little freaky. And going from human evolution to urban development, there's been new findings in Turkey, which are also rewriting the course of history and the story of planned settlements. At the nearly 10,000-year-old site of Khan Hasan III Hoyuk.
Say that again.
Sounds like a Star Wars character.
Right?
Archaeologists uncovered what may be one of the world's oldest known streets. They was living that street life 10,000 years ago in Turkey, man. It was a planned passageway between two houses. The finding stands in sharp contrast to the famously tightly clustered roof-accessed homes of the nearby 9,000-year-old site of Catalhoyuk. The discovery.
I wonder if they still had addresses. Yeah, I'm at the other side.
Yeah. Dude, you went to 49 Kayalhook. I'm at 59.
You want that guy's house.
Or they had like delivery guys go to the wrong place. Dude, you brought the bread to the wrong place, man. The discovery of intentional gaps in planned passageways reveals a diversity of urban planning solutions in Neolithic Central Anatolia. It demonstrates that the Neolithic period was not a uniform monolithic stage of development, but a time of social and cultural experimentation, with different communities developing unique solutions for movement and social interaction. Now, they're still studying it. They don't know for sure if this was a passageway, used just to go between rooms, or if this is like they believe, could be the oldest street in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is pretty, and that this site is about 1,000 years older than Catalhoyuk, which is considered pretty much like the oldest settlement, the oldest constructed settlement, of humans. So what's interesting to me, though, is that if it is a street and it's 1,000 years older than the other place, why did they abandon it? Or were they just trying different things? Was it just like, oh, that was cool, but we're doing our thing over here?
Yeah. Yeah, the one-upsmanship of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I got a cooler gravel road.
Streets.
Yeah.
Streets.
We're going to do boulevards.
Right.
Avenues, my friend.
But see, the other site, though, which is younger, is more clustered. So it doesn't even have like bigger spaces in between the houses. But who knows? That could have been a population density thing, or just preference. Maybe they just like to be on top of each other. Who knows? Yeah. Let's take a quick phone call. We have a mystery caller from the 415 area code.
The mysterious San Francisco.
This is Dave in San Francisco.
It is.
What's going on, man?
Well, I was hearing you talk about these changes in civilization. I don't know if you've noticed, about maybe going on 2 months ago, the state of Texas decided that they could take fracking water and mix it or use it in agriculture. So I would bet that they're already evolving. When you start thinking about all of the chemicals that can be in fracking water, and you've got all of these different strata that require different chemicals to make them melt and create gases. So, you might have soy, or you might have alfalfa, or you might have, some sort of normal grain or vegetable that would be used in the development of human bodies. But then all of a sudden you have strange chemicals that you might have acre by acre. You might have a lot of changes.
Yeah.
So since Chicago is the city for agricultural, the commodities market, I'm certainly going to recommend that Chicago figure out a way to boycott agricultural products out of Texas, because there's going to be some evolution coming out of the bad agriculture down there.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Interesting. Yeah. Who knows where it'll lead? Maybe we'll evolve in some, absorbing microplastics and toxic frackings. We'll see where that goes. Who knows? Maybe in 1,000 years they will study the sediment of Texas and figure out what.
Hopefully, man will evolve to receive these chemicals and survive.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thanks for the call, Dave.
Well, what's strange about all of that is they're basically setting it up so that in order to, by destroying the Food and Drug Administration, by destroying the EPA, they're refusing to acknowledge that pollution exists, and then they're destroying the evidence of that pollution that could be tracked in some kind of a recorded, if somebody were to try to prosecute a polluter, you'd have an evidence locker of what they had. Yeah. Well, if they're going to all of a sudden create mutant monsters all over the country with bad products, whether it's junk food or people thinking that they're going to get good quality food and it's tainted, then they're actually you're going to have all sorts of mutants that, like unregistered mutants, and it's going to be a very strange thing. It's as if they're going to expect us to evolve year by year to overcome these types of pollutants. And with no recorded, tracking, it's incalculable about how they're going to try to force us to be mutant monsters, but never acknowledge it.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, Dave. I don't really know how to tie that into archaeology right now, but maybe we'll get a different.
But yeah, in this time frame, the cost of doing business, how much chemicals they're going to put in our agriculture, and what it's going to say about us.
I mean, we'll have to do a whole different, show topic on that one. But I appreciate the call.
With like the way that the way bioengineered foods. I guess like the alternative to that is like it's almost like you have to bioengineer foods like in labs to counter what we've done to the pollution in the soil and everything.
Yeah. Well, the only way I could segue back into this is that in this other discovery, which is a city of many layers, and we're talking about layers of sediment. See, that's the only one I can do. But this is Sardis, which is also in Turkey. The interesting thing is they found this heavily influenced Greek culture, heavily influenced, but it's a palace, huge palace built for the Lydians. Now, what makes it interesting is this place, this capital of a kingdom, is also the birthplace of money. And Sardis was the capital of the Lydian kingdom, a wealthy and powerful state that thrived in western Anatolia between the 7th and 6th centuries BC. The city held a strategic position at the western end of Persian Royal Road, linking the Aegean coast to the heart of the Persian Empire. And the most enduring legacy is role as the birthplace of coinage.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, so like what was their currency?
Yeah, the Lydians were the first to mint coins from a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver called electrum, introducing a revolutionary economic system that spread across the ancient world. The discovery of early silver coins within the palace site further cements Sardis' reputation as a center of innovation and wealth.
I wonder if it took a while for that to catch. It's like, I'll give you this shiny coin if you do this work for me. And like, okay, well, why would I want that? Well, the coin can get you things, we'll get you some land or get you land. I'll just claim a spot and build a house, What?
Well, I know part of it was
I own that land. I'm the king.
Easier to carry.
The Lydian king.
Yeah, I'm the Lydian king. Well, I think it was mostly... one was, I believe they already had a concept of precious metals, gold and stuff like that, but also the ability to carry more than I got, 5 deer skins here, I'm over my shoulder. Let me or I got 5 coins in a pot.
Let me crack off a little bit off my gold bar here.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to give you the whole thing.
But there's actually a really good... I thought about doing an episode on that, too, there's a book I read a long time ago called The History of Money by Jack Weatherford, which is really good and gets into the whole... and the way he writes it is pretty interesting, too, because it's almost as if money is the main character of the story. And it goes through, and it talks about that. There wasn't a continuous... evolution of money either. There was ups and downs. It took a while for paper money to catch on too. Like in ancient China, they were some of the first ones to create paper money, but the problem is they didn't really have a good understanding of printing and how much you have. So they just kept printing more. Oh, we ran out of money. Well, print more. And then it devalued it and their economy crashed. So it wasn't until, more modern times that we went back into the paper money. And now it's all digital crypto. It'll be nothing. And then just going to be your blood. You're going to just give your blood as money.
You're going to be born with a dollar sign. You inherited your parents' debt.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to work your way out of
You're
it.
going to have your digital watch will just tell you your worth.
And scan your hand for your payments. Yeah.
Every time you use money, it goes down.
So depressing.
Then when you get to zero, they off you. Sacrifice.
You made it.
Let's do one more quick one before the break, though. Since we did talk about China, and we're talking about Jim brought up the ancient soldiers, but what about tunnels found underneath an ancient city? And this is I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but Hu Chengzui is an ancient stone city near Inner Mongolia. Excavations revealed an extensive network of underground tunnels dating back more than 4,500 years. These tunnels stretch between 3 and 20 feet below the city, and they were not simple escape routes, but part of a highly sophisticated three-dimensional defense system. They were designed to allow for the discrete movements of weapons, supplies, and personnel to reinforce vulnerable parts of the city during conflicts. And this was a huge engineering feat that rivaled contemporaneous urban centers in Mesopotamia, The tunnels prove that the city was designed on multiple levels, enhancing its military capabilities and providing a stunning example of advanced strategic planning in an early society. Dun, 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 dun. I lied. One more. That was a quick one.
Okay.
There was because we did the Egyptians, got to bring in the Mayans. A rediscovery of the lost Maya city of Sacbalan in Mexico demonstrates the power of combining historical clues with modern analytical tools. Check this out, how they found this city.
Okay.
A researcher used a 327-year-old letter written by a friar, which described his travel to the city, and they used that to predict its location on the map. And then a subsequent trek into the jungle confirmed the prediction, revealing ruins unseen for centuries. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will get into some how archaeology is using and unlocking secrets with AI and analytics right after this on Think Theory Radio. Welcome back to Think Theory Radio. Today we are doing another episode of Awesome Archaeology. All the discoveries that's fit to talk about. And in this next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about, which we've brought up on the show before, how they're utilizing AI to decipher and uncode ancient secrets. And this, I was thinking of as I was reading some of these articles earlier, it's interesting how something like AI can be such a valuable tool for scientists and researchers, and then such a detrimental thing for like normal folk and like people spiraling, looking for ChatGPT as their god or something, And then you like the other hand, they're like, oh, well, actually, we decoded this cuneiform 3,000-year-old Babylonian tablet. Like, well, that's a pretty cool use of AI. Let's just stick to that.
Yeah. More of that.
Yeah. Which is actually the next thing we'll talk about. So they reconstructed a 3,000-year-old Babylonian hymn, an ancient hymn.
Not a her, a him.
That was a hymn. A hymn. A hymn.
Hymnal.
And this is from fragmented cuneiform tablets, which, if you don't know, cuneiform is that wedge-shaped writing system, usually Sanskrit, right? And it's pressed into clay. Now, it rarely survives intact. There's millions of fragments scattered across museums.
Like clay, just gonna over time
breaks apart, and it's hard to figure out, just by sight, whatever. But that's why if you use advanced AI platforms, you can scan them all, and it can much more easily than the human eye figure out which goes together.
I would imagine, though, that they had to run so many simulations of it to try and figure it out.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. And they believe that this task, if it would have been human scholars, would have took decades to complete. The reconstructed text was a 250-line poem praising the city of Babylon. And
I think part of that, though, is, it would have taken 1,000 years or whatever, but it's like, what's the payment? What's the incentive to do it? You'd have to get grants and get someone that's actually interested.
You'd have to get grants.
Whereas the program, it's like, we ran the program. That's.
And not only that, but you can, I don't know how it really works when you're like taking things out of, museums, because you'd have to there's a fragment here, there's a fragment here. Mm-hmm. You're getting it as a loan. You have to return it. How much time do you get within your budget and financing and all that, So to have a tool that can do it much faster probably works even better within their trying to get funding.
Maybe even bring the machine to the museum and let's go to the examination room and
exactly. You don't even have to bring it out. Yeah. I don't know how the specifics on that. But it is pretty interesting that this is the first hymn or poem or song that was written about a city. So it was like, as I was reading, I was like, oh, it's like, the early, Frank Sinatra, Chicago, or New York. It's like, we built this city. It was like, Babylon. We got roads that we travel on.
Yes. Hanging gardens.
Right. And it really did. It really is like that. Yeah. It's like the descriptions of like the natural environment. It talks about the Euphrates River bringing spring and greening the fields.
Our summers are awesome.
Yeah. We got the best crops, man.
Yeah.
Babylon is the ish.
It's like a diss track on like Damascus don't got it. Right. Babylon's got it. I don't know.
Egypt, man, they ain't got nothing on Babylon. The interesting thing is that it brought new details about the respected roles of women serving as priestesses and the society that was remarkably respectful to foreigners.
Check it out. Woke is old school.
Yep. Look, they respected women and they were respectful to foreigners living among them. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's, and this is 3,000 years ago. All right, people, let's learn lessons.
Let's evolve.
The hymn's content challenges stereotypical views of ancient Babylon as a purely male-dominated and insular society. And the AI's ability to reconstruct this narrative from fragments reveals an entirely new facet of the civilization, demonstrating that AI can reveal previously inaccessible stories and lead to a fundamental shift in our historical understanding. And now here's another one, which is it ties into this, right? Because this another 3,000-year-old musical score. This one was the hymn to Nekal, which is one of the oldest hymns in the world. And this was inscribed on a clay tablet in the Hurrian language, or Hurrian. It's the earliest known musical score found to date. Using computer-assisted rhythm and melody mapping, a researcher compared the hymn to the Rig Veda, one of the oldest Indian sacred texts, and found remarkable parallels. The study showed that 1 in 5 Rig Veda verses concludes with the same cadence as the hymn to Nekal, an occurrence with a probability of less than 1 in a million by chance. This finding suggests that a shared global musical culture existed during the Bronze Age, likely spread via the Mitanni Kingdom, which served as a cultural bridge between Ugarit and India. The discovery offers a new model for cultural diffusion, suggesting that abstract ideas like music could have been the first global language, spreading faster and more enduringly than political alliances or trade caravans. I think that's really interesting. Now, this is 2 of the oldest poems or songs that are remarkably culturally relevant to, the respective people, like the hymn to Nekal and the Rig Veda, and the fact that they have a similar cadence with a 1 in a million chance to have that same cadence. The fact that, music was spreading around the time, and influencing each other. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to think about, when you think about today, because, we talk about the show on the side when we do these, I always love to compare, how people were living then and how we live now, right? And there's so many similarities. We always kind of think that people in the past lived so differently, but in reality they lived very similar to us. And they had their favorite songs,
the basic creature comforts and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this shows that there was traveling music. They may be bands. Maybe they had touring bands back then.
But I mean, was it all religious purposes, or were there just for the pastimes, or the just
well, there's a bunch of them because some of these hymns, I forget if it's the hymn to Nekal, but I don't think it's this one. There's another hymn that we talked about on the show before that was all about beer. Remember that one? It was all about brewing beer. So the Babylon one was just praising the city and, talking about its, how they lived. So it wasn't all really about God or religion. A lot of it was just about human life and how they lived. And, you got to think, they didn't have recorded music, so you would have had to tell it orally. I know in the hymn to Nekal and the other hymn, the one was taught to school children. So a lot of the school children knew these hymns. This was something they grew up with. This is a way to, it's like oral history as well, But I just like to think of some touring band going from Babylon to India, and oh man, that's a pretty cool song. I think we're going to write a version of that, then they write their own little version in their language and travels on and on, man. Let's see what else we got. Another AI usage, which was Google's DeepMind unveiled a new AI tool named Aeneas. It's Aeneas.
It's a family show.
It's not Uranus. Sorry. Which is capable of deciphering and conceptualizing ancient Roman-era Latin inscriptions. Trained on a vast data set of over 176,000 inscriptions, Aeneas can predict missing text even when the length is uncertain, and can date events within a 13-year time frame. And the true power, how it relies on this collaborative potential. The research found that when historians worked with ANS, they achieved better results in restoration and geographical attribution tasks than either the AI or the human scholars working alone. And AI handles the laborious tasks of pattern recognition and data synthesis, freeing human scholars to focus on higher level interpretation and narrative construction. This collaborative model will exponentially accelerate the pace of historical discovery and analysis. And a unified theme in this new era of archaeology is, and past being rewritten, always rewritten, is from a 1,600-year-old mosaic in Sicily depicting sandals that look strangely like modern flip-flops. And so even in ancient Rome, cats were walking around with
Doc Martens.
Yeah, little flip-flops hitting the beach.
Yeah.
You know? When you look it up, though, if you look up this 16-year-old mosaic, it looks, I mean, now we know they were wearing sandals and stuff back then, and we think like the Egyptians had a very similar looking thing to flip-flops, but it's kind of interesting. We think there's like people walking around in flip-flops at the beach today, and 5,000 years ago, people were wearing that same design, you know?
But I bet the Romans would look at Crocs and be like, whoa.
Yeah,
What are those corny things you're wearing?
Well, now the Roman soldiers did wear, I think they're called kei. I forget how you pronounce it, but it was a more structured shoe, you know, because they were out there fighting and stuff, you know. Now, lastly, there was 80,000-year-old stones found in Uzbekistan, which may be the oldest known arrowheads. Now, what's interesting is that they believe they might have been created by Neanderthals. And that's interesting. You know, they don't know for sure, but where it was found in Uzbekistan was near I believe it was in a cave where they had found bones of Neanderthals and other, you know, fossils and animal, you know, food remains and stuff like that. So, which essentially, when you think about what we were talking about earlier, you know, 140,000 years ago, interbreeding between humans and Neanderthals, and the fact that, you know, 80,000 years ago, possibly Neanderthals were creating the first, or at least the oldest known arrowheads, which is a huge technological innovation at that time, and you know, would have been more widespread and occurred much earlier than previously thought. So we'll see where that leads if they figure out more about these arrowheads. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I just think that, like, the more we're learning about, I'm fascinated with all the Neanderthal stuff, because it just, we've been taught so long and ingrained in us that Neanderthals were dumb. They didn't know any, you know what I mean? Like, that's why they died off. And now it's like, now we're finding, they were, you know.
Well, that's ancient history that we're trying to piece together. Even like, you know, in recent history, we think the Luddites were, you know, like, modern day dummies, you know, compared to the, you know, Neanderthal, you know, so it's just like, and I know Luddites are like, you know, like our species, but it's like,
no, but that's a good comparison.
Over time, you know, it's like the basic narrative is what people believe and not what the details were.
Well, and that's a really good comparison, because you think of the name itself becomes a detrimental, like, you know, term, right? So, you Luddite, you know,
you Neanderthal.
Like, exactly, you know, and it's like, no, the Luddites were not anti-technology. They just were, what was that? Because you know,
it's been forever. I know. Now's not the time. Wrap up
they
show,
weren't anti-technology.
They were just, they wanted,
protested
the machinery
thing.
taking away their jobs.
Yes.
Take our jobs.
They're taking our jobs, man. But yes.
Yeah.
Good point. But we have to end the show. I want to thank everybody for listening. We'll be back again next Saturday and every Saturday, 6 to 7 p.m. right here on WCPT 820 Think Theory Radio.